Welcome on in. It's another edition of Sports Memo Today. I'm your host, Dan Alexander. This is your chance to get to know the experts here at Sports Memo just a little bit better. And of course, get some winners, some actionable info all along the way. So 2 guests on today's show. We're going to be chatting with Dr. Chuck in the Insiders Room today. Want to let you know we have a very special offer for you viewers of this show that expires at midnight. So you want to act quickly if you want to get a major savings on some 7-day all access for both Chuck and the Insiders Room. All you have to do, go to their pages, use Today7. That's Today7 is the promo code. Get all access for a week for just $59. If you like what you hear on the show, maybe that's a pretty darn good thank you to our guys here. Let's get right on into it. Welcome on in our guy, Dr. Chuck. Doc is in. How are we doing, man? Good to see you.
All right. Great to be here, Dan.
Absolutely. So we always start off with this little get to know segment, and I'm sure that this is the question that you constantly get. Like, are you an actual doctor, or do you just prescribe winners? How the hell did Dr. Chuck come about, my guy?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I'm kind of boring as far as that goes. I am a doctor, and my name is Charles. So kind of boring as far as coming up with a cool moniker. But I thought it would work because it's kind of, yes. And as I say on many of the Sports Memo shows, we prescribe winners. The doctor's making a house call, those type of things. But yes, I got my doctorate and kind of always had this as a side hustle and wanted to kind of make it more of a full-time thing. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but maybe someday we can, slough off the doctor and just be prescribing winners as Chuck, right?
That's what I like to hear. No, you got to keep the name. Keep writing out the RX pads there of winners. So, what are you going to do? I thought there would maybe be a bigger backstory there, but the dude's a doctor. You got to trust the advice of a doctor right there. So, my guy, let's get into some of these plays right here because I guess we'll call them the prescription plays from our guy, Dr. Chuck. You may need antacid if you're going to tell me to lay 17 with the Las Vegas Aces. They're taking on the Indiana Fever. Total in this one, 174.5. So please, dear God, doctor, tell me I do not have to get sick to my stomach and back the Aces laying that number.
No, I am definitely not going that way. But boy, is that a head scratcher of a line, right? I mean, off of that debacle against the Dream, just getting the doors were blown off before the game even started, 35 points in the first quarter. And that kind of leads me into where Las Vegas needs to have a come to Jesus time here because, they looked, it seems like they're really back down to earth and not something that all happened with these teams. The consistency just seemed like it was going to be there. And June 1st was a date where they were 9-1 up until then. They're 9-7 since then. Still a 2-horse race in the Western Conference here with the Storm, but the Storm are right there now. And the Aces have just got to put it together a little bit better. And I think defense is where they have to be. It's hard to play worse defense than they did last game. And I like fading those type of situations where not only should they have probably looked a lot better against a team like the Dream and handled them, they lost by almost 20 points outright and gave up 95 points to them. Now they get the doldrums of the entire WNBA and the Fever, who have lost 10 straight games inexplicably. The last time they won was against the Sky somehow. But yeah, in those 10 games, their offensive rating is sub 90. It's the only team that is that bad on offense, but they're also not that bad on defense. They do get totals hung this high somewhat of the time, but why, like you said, Dan, how do you take a team that almost lost by 20 at home and they're laying almost that many points again? It's just a head scratcher, period. I think both teams slow this down a little bit. Maybe the Fever even see blood in the water with the Aces and think that they can shut this down a little bit, but there's no way that they start off this way like they did last game. I think 174 is 10 points too high, possibly. There's so many different trends on this. 10 overs and 25 unders with a line this high and a total this high, largely because teams like this are usually going to get blown out. The average in some of these trends, there's another trend where there's 15 overs and 30 unders in this spot, and the average score in those trends, the first one that I named, is the average score is 159. The average score in the second trend there of the 15 and 30 is 147 points. And so there's a lot of things back in this. I think the Aces do probably get a win. I would never lay that many points. I don't want to have to give Dan too many prescriptions for that many points in a WNBA game, especially with a team this reeling. But yeah, I think maybe I made this to be a 165-166, and so I can't quite figure out why that is. Worries me a little bit. Also hasn't come down a little bit, but I think this is overtime proof.
174.5, and the irony is not lost on me that your first play here on Sports Memo Today features a team named the Fever. Like I know what you were doing there under in the Aces Fever game, 174.5. Also, it's not actually a bad MLB slate today. Typically after the All-Star break, you come back and you maybe have 1 game, 2 games. We got like double headers, we got night games. However, there's something you wanted to take a look forward to, and that's a game taking place on Friday between the Brewers and the Colorado Rockies. I'll give the mic over to you. What are you eyeing in this one as a little look-ahead prescription play?
Yeah, so I like the MLB slate. It's just not big. And, we discussed this off air. 2 of the games are going on right now. We do have action in those, and so hopefully if you have the all-access package, you've gotten some of these winners that we're looking at right now. The other slate games on the slate that we could have possibly gone after, our second game of double headers, I didn't really want to attack. The Giants-Dodgers game, as clients know, I do have a play on. But it's just, there's a lot of stuff that is really intriguing tomorrow, specifically before getting into my play. The Yankees and Astros are playing a doubleheader today. They play different teams tomorrow. They're both going to the hottest teams in the entire major leagues, especially in the American League. They're going to go to them, and the Orioles and Mariners are probably going to be home dogs in those games, facing a team off of a doubleheader. Mariners have won 14 in a row. I'm incredibly intrigued by a team on a 14-game win streak that's probably going to be a home dog. But I'm looking at a game with another team that he needs to probably step it up and solidify more. The Brewers at home tomorrow have Corbin Burns. Not as worried about Corbin Burns if you're looking to play action or play listed on one side, but I'm definitely interested in the fate of Antonio Senzatella coming off of the IL. I don't know if right shoulder inflammation is an excuse for not being able to miss any bats. The guy is bottom tier in the entire major league at missing bats, swing and miss rates in the 5-6% range. His zone contact percentage is 93, and while that maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense to people, Shane McClanahan's is 70, Christian Javier's is 71. These are the type of things. There's only about 5 starters in the major leagues that get more contact. You don't want contact. Obviously, his FIP as compared to his ERA in his last major league start was a 10 compared to a 3, and in his AAA start to tune up for coming back tomorrow was a 7.88 compared to his beautiful-looking newspaper number of 1.8 ERA. The Brewers are at home, and so a home run line is not something I love, but in this spot I do. The spot here on the Brewers is 3-8, 2-9 straight up, 3-8 on the run line in this spot. It's like a 42% return on investment if you get the Brewers here. Definitely you want to get Senzatella on the mound. If you don't want to have to worry about whether or not Burns is going to pitch, I can't imagine there's an issue. But the Brewers -1.5 here, get any number any amount of juice you can. It's probably about, I think you're playing 120 is what I think I got it at. But shop around. I think the Brewers put this away in the 7-3, 8-2 range. Even I think it's an easy breezy run line home team winner.
Could be a runaway one for the Brewers, laying the lumber there, 1.5 as they take on the Rockies. So, Chuck, we mentioned at the top of the show about how, folks, we have a special offer for them today. 7 gets you 7-day all access. What kind of stuff do you have loaded? What could clients expect once they try you out with this great deal that we have for them?
So we've been delving into something that I've done personally for a decade, but haven't really released a lot to clients in both golf and tennis. And when you get all access, because it's not just the All-Star break. We always have sharp tennis plays. We try to put out a decent amount of golf stuff. And so we're not just high volume baseball. we have WNBA. We're at the top of the leaderboard on WNBA as well. And so when you get all access, if you get that 7-day all access, you're going to get a lot of stuff. Depending on when you get it, we're going to have tennis plays every day. The golf is trickier because you have to get that out Wednesday, Thursday. There could be some live stuff. Follow me on Twitter, and you always get live plays. The golf and tennis is having a great day today. So if you want to hop on board before we get baseball back in action all the way, it's going to be great value, and you're going to get a lot of action.
Well, and depending on when you get it, I'm going to tell you, get it now because it expires at midnight this evening. Use code TODAY7. Just head on over to Dr. Chuck's page and grab that. Chuck, appreciate having you on. Looking forward to when we have you next. And hopefully next time we talk to you, we got a little bit more cash in the pocket, man. Thank you.
That's right. And hopefully less antacid.
And that is the hope indeed. That again is Dr. Chuck. You can find him and all the great slate of handicappers at sportsmemo.com. Speaking of some other cappers on the site, let's bring our second guest in. We got the Insiders Room coming on here. And in the get to know second insider, I mean, you look much more like a human being and much less like a sentient room. So what the hell is the Insiders Room all about, my guy?
Exactly, Dan. Thanks for having me on, man. And nice to meet you sort of for the first time ever here. And I mean, I'm new to Sports Memo, but I've been in this industry for a long time. I've come over from a different company that's now that's gone away. And so, I'm trying to make a home here at Sports Memo. And so, my name is Nick Parsons. And the Insiders Room. So what that is, Dan, it's a Discord. I started a Discord a number of years ago, and it's kept growing and growing. And I have now hundreds of members in there. And I have a core group of guys, really heavy bettors who I really respect their opinions. And so, when these guys sort of all align on the play, this is sort of where I'm getting my information along with my own situational handicapping. And that's sort of how I come up with my plays. And that's what the Insiders Room is all about.
Interesting, man. I love it. So a little bit of the hive mind goes into the handicapping approach. You sift through it all and find the winners for the folks. I love that, man. That's super interesting right there. That's a really cool approach for you. Now, have you seen success across specific sports with that, or is it it depends? It's a case by case basis. Sometimes we're running hot in this, sometimes we're running hot in that. Like where do you find the biggest edge for you across different sports?
Right. So the Insiders Room Discord, it's really active, and there's a huge public presence in there, and there's people betting on everything. Lots of tennis, of course, lots of different things. But for myself and for my main crew, we focus on the main North American sports, the big ones, and so that's where I'm focusing personally. Most of my my efforts are on the big North American sports.
Well, let's get into some of these big North American sports and start with Major League Baseball. 10 Eastern time tonight, the San Francisco side taking on the LA Dodgers. Dodgers a small favorite in this one. Total is 8. Which way are you betting this one, Nick?
The Dodgers and the Giants. So, the Dodgers went into the break. They won 11 of 12 games. They won 4 in a row. But I think they could come out a little bit flat here in this first game back. Right now, San Francisco is 12.5 games back of the Dodgers. The Dodgers did have 6 players play in the All-Star game, so perhaps a little bit of a hangover here in this first game back from the break. Now, San Francisco, it also went into the break really hot. It won 5 of 6 going into the break. It's not the same team that won 104 games last year. But it still did win those 5 of 6 games coming into the break. And as far as the starting pitchup, I definitely give the nod here to Carlos Rodon. He's 8-5 with a 2.66 ERA. He's facing Mitch White. He's 1-2 with a 4.20 ERA. It's a really small sample size for White, obviously. And even over that small sample size, he's been pretty pedestrian. I don't know if it matters, but he's 0-2 with a 4.56 ERA in all night games. Rodon, as I pointed out, he's been solid all year. He's been better at home than on the road, but he's still 6-3 with a 2.80 ERA in all night games. And I absolutely believe that he's the superior pitcher in this matchup here. Really, maybe sprinkle a little bit on the money line here, but I mean, I'm not afraid to lay chalk. I play underdogs. I play totals. I play player props. I play just about everything. But I'm also not afraid to lay chalk. And in this case, I think that this is a reasonable mid-sized price. I'm going to lay this, Dan, and I'm going to get the extra 1.5 runs of insurance.
Taking the 1.5, and I've heard it before. The only time that you're eating the chalk is when the play doesn't win. So minus 145, right, whatever it's at. Let's just get this bad boy home, and I don't care what the juice is on that one. So that's the MLB look. You mentioned you like looking at these North American sports, and really catching on in popularity is the CFL. For football fans in the doldrums of the summer, solid product and money-making opportunities abound. We got a little Friday night football, 9 o'clock Eastern, as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers face off against the Edmonton Elks, 7.5-point favorites. So odds makers saying the Blue Bombers might be staying and rolling in this one. But what's the way that you're breaking it down, Nick?
Yeah, good point there about the CFL. We love the CFL as well, especially at the beginning of the season before college football and the NFL starts. And we've got out to a really hot start here since we come on over at Sports Memo. We're 5-1 with our picks, and we can get a little bit more into that tonight because we have a big play going tonight. But yeah, this is a really interesting matchup because Winnipeg, as you mentioned, it's 6-0. And Edmonton, on the other hand, it's just 2-4, and that includes going 0-2 at home. However, the Elks have quietly been getting better. They've won 2 of their last 3. They've covered in 3 of their last 4. Now, I'm going to stop short in calling for an outright upset, but I do definitely think that Edmonton catches Winnipeg at a good time here. And so I'm going to suggest a play on Edmonton grabbing the points here at home, because situationally, I like the way that this one sets up for the Elks. I talked a little bit about it at the beginning there. I'm sort of a situational handicapper at heart. Mm-hmm. I mean, Edmonton is fresh off its second win of the year. That was a 32-31 win at Montreal as an 8-point underdog. The Elks have yet to even win or cover at home, so that's extra motivation here to finally get a win here at home. And as I mentioned, I think they catch the Bombers at the right time here. It comes in a tiny bit complacent at 6-0. The win over Calgary last week was a difficult one. It was a 26-19 win. So now, next week, Winnipeg is in Calgary again, so it's a rematch. It's sort of a look-ahead spot, a letdown and a look-ahead spot here. And Edmonton's win last week was impressive. It was down 31-12 midway through the third quarter. It was able to get costly interference penalties there against Montreal that led to those touchdowns for the Elks in the fourth quarter. Trey Ford, he was injured. Taylor Cornelius, he stepped up. Kai Loxley, he also had a pair of touchdowns in the fourth quarter there for Edmonton. And for Winnipeg, as I mentioned, it was a battle of unbeatens last week against Calgary. But it was a difficult win there. DeMario Houston, he had an interception in the end zone in the final minute there to preserve the victory. Zach Collaros, he was fantastic again. He had 315 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. But after that emotional last-second victory there, now traveling on the road to play the lowly Elks, then next week in Calgary, for me, that's a letdown spot. That's a look-ahead spot. And when you put those two things together, that equals trap game. And so that's where I think that this is a trap game. I'm going to grab the points. And I think that this is going to be a lot closer than what Las Vegas is leading us to believe.
So a situational bettor's dream. Not only do you have the look ahead, you have the bounce back, you have the potential trap. And like Nick was saying, they're 5-1 on these CFL plays. And I'm glad to know, dogs not only welcome in the Insiders Room, they are encouraged. A 2-pack of dogs that Nick has for you here with the Insiders Room. So you mentioned 5-1 on CFL plays. So what do you have going tonight? You mentioned a big ticket because people can get it as part of that 7-day all access with a great deal right now.
We're really excited. We're coming out firing here in week 7 right out of the gate. It's our 10-star game of the week, a 10% play. And so we're putting that 5-1 record on the line tonight. Come check that out over at Sports Memo.
And no better time to hop in than now. Just $59 for either the Insiders Room or Dr. Chuck All Access. Heck, why not get them both? Just use code TODAY7. So huge thanks. Thanks for coming on, Insider Nick Parsons. And you can follow him on his Discord as well. Find him on Twitter and ride with the Insiders Room. So that's going to do it for us. Appreciate you tuning in to another edition here on Sports Memo Today. One more time, don't forget that promo code TODAY7. That's $59, only good through midnight tonight. So as you're finishing watching now, go and grab it. That's going to do it for us. So huge thanks to Dr. Chuck. Huge thanks to Nick and the Insiders Room as well. Until next time on Sports Memo, I'm Dan Alexander, and we'll see you then.